We've got some time before the hockey games that we're interested in watching today actually start, so let's talk a little bit about some rumblings that have been bringing themselves up in the media over the past few days. This is an article from TVA Sports, which, if you're familiar with the Montreal journalism scene, you know is a Quebecois Montreal Canadiens related journalistic platform. They uploaded this article talking about a certain player from the Columbus Blue Jackets that the Montreal Canadiens as well as the Boston Bruins are indeed interested in. Let's talk today about Josh Anderson, a guy who is in a weird spot with the Blue Jackets. Now, in order to actually understand who Josh Anderson is, we need to take a look at the context. The context is he's a winger, he's a big guy, he's in his mid-20s, and he's going to expire at the end of this season. How long's his current contract? Well, this is his third year out of 3, so once this is done, he needs to re-sign. How much is that contract? It's $1.85 million. That's not bad at all, actually. In fact, it was actually seen as something that would be a big steal, because last season, Josh Anderson, this 6'3", 220-pound right winger, was able to get a lot of points. He had 47 points and 27 goals in 82 games last year. And in a year where Panarin was leaving, and Duchesne was leaving, and Bobrovsky was leaving, and Dzingel was leaving, everybody was leaving. People looked at Josh Anderson and they were like, yeah, this guy was really good this year, and he's coming back next year. This guy's gonna carry the load, and he's gonna be one of the better players on this team. Right? Well, he's played 26 games this season, he is injured, and he only has 4 points. So, Josh Anderson is a guy who definitely hasn't really played his best hockey this year, but as the numbers suggest, from his 21 to his 22 to his 23 to his 24-year-old season, he was just getting better and better and better, and he's always been a consistently okay NHL power forward. So it's really frustrating to see how things haven't worked out his way this season. So why exactly would the Canadiens or the Bruins want to take a chance on a guy like Anderson? Well, it mostly comes down to reputation and the skill set that he has. First off, reputation. He got 27 goals last year. He's only 25. So who's to say that he's not going to be able to replicate 27 goals, maybe even 25 goals, maybe even just 20 goals? Because the statistical package does make sense. $1.85 million. He's gonna have to re-sign. He's only 25, and he's capable of getting 25 goals in a year. This year, it's a little bit of an anomaly. Yes, but that doesn't mean that the player who did score 27 goals a year ago is completely gone. As for the way he plays, Josh Anderson is a very typical power forward-like player. He drives to the net, he opens up space with his big frame, and he uses his shot effectively. He does a good job on the boards, he does a good job in the corners, and he does a really good job out in front, scrumming away for the puck. But one of his most underrated aspects is his ability to actually be the trigger on a power play. It's weird, but we saw this last year. Josh Anderson can set himself up in some good spots to score, and it's worked for him well in the past. Add to this the defensive responsibilities of a strong power forward-like player, and the PK ability that he has as well. Josh Anderson looks like an all-round kind of player that any NHL team would want to have. But why the Bruins and why the Canadiens specifically? Well, the Bruins, it's because they want to do damage in the playoffs. They saw what St. Louis did last year to them, and they want to find ways to keep up that scoring touch while also remaining physical. As for the Habs, Well, the Habs are a few points out of a playoff spot, and if they want to make the playoffs, they want to do damage in the playoffs, and believe me, it looks like they're trying to make the playoffs out there every single night. The effort is there. They're going to need to add at least something to bolster this team up. And it has to be something that they cannot sacrifice some of their current team roster player pieces for. If you take a look at what the article says over here, speculation has ensued that the Columbus Blue Jackets' asking price for Anderson would be a second-round pick and a prospect. Hey, guess who has a ton of second-round picks and prospects? The Montreal Canadiens do. Now, the Bruins have their fair share of prospects and picks too, but in my opinion, the Habs do have a better reservoir of that material. And who knows, with the Columbus Blue Jackets in their own playoff race as well, what's to say that they're not just going to keep Anderson and hope that he gets better? That certainly is a probable scenario as well, but the reports have come out that the Canadiens and the Bruins are indeed interested in this player. So eventually something is going to have to give, whether or not CBJ keeps him and decides to roll with him, re-sign him, and then just keep him for the next few years, send him off to Boston where he could be used in a playoff-like style, or send him off to Montreal where he could get re-signed, accepted into the Habs fan base, and as long as he puts in the effort, he will be revered. So it's a weird little mix-up of possibilities here with this player, and on the subject of his contract re-signing, because he's going to have to eventually do that, he's an RFA right now, and there is the possibility of arbitration that does exist. But arbitration goes down to the numbers, and arbitration, once it is decided as an arbitration-like deal, will be sorted out based off of the minutes, based off of the goals, based off of the assists. And Josh Anderson's numbers, on paper, are really bad this year. So if he ever goes to arbitration in the next few months, it's not really going to work out well for him. He's not going to get a whole bunch of money. And in fact, he's not going to get a whole bunch of money either if he says, yeah, no, I can indeed play like the guy who I was last year. Because this year, he just proved that the possibility of him not playing like how he was last year does exist. So to me, I see Anderson getting, regardless of the team, just a short-term, prove-it kind of deal, 1, maybe 2 years, and it'll give him the opportunity to show the team that he's with, hey, I still can play like a 27-goal scorer. So whatever team he ends up with, that will be interesting to follow, and I believe he honestly can get back up to speed. The guy's only 25, right? So it's not like the end of the world for him, because he does have a down year in terms of the production, in terms of the injuries and all that. So I do see a somewhat bright future for Josh Anderson. But again, whether or not that's with Columbus, with Boston, or Montreal is up for debate. Now, the reason we're even having this discussion in the first place is because Jarmo Kekalainen did say a week ago that Anderson is indeed on the trading block, but you know, you can never tell with these things. On the subject of the Bruins, though, it is actually noted in the article on TVA Sports that they are interested in Kreider as well, which is not a surprise. Seems like a whole bunch of teams are interested in Chris Kreider, right? So, I don't know if getting Kreider will make them sort of stop going after Anderson, or if they get Anderson, then they're going to stop going after Kreider, or maybe if they get both, that's a possibility too. But Kreider does play a very power forward-like style, just like Josh Anderson, so it kind of all fits into my internal idea of the Bruins mold, especially in the playoffs where they like those big guys who can just rush to the net, play physically, and keep up with the more intense side of the game. So yeah, who knows? Kreider's also a guy who, I know a lot of Habs fans were talking about whether or not the Habs should go after Kreider, but it's not really something that I think is going to be super prevalent. Don't really think the Habs are going to try to go after too many star players in the next few weeks. But Josh Anderson, who is a guy who will most likely be in the middle six of the Habs if he gets traded to Montreal, I can see Montreal trying it, honestly speaking. So, comment down below what you think about this whole situation. Hope you enjoyed this video, Social Trost 99. And Bye.